The hollow echoes of Blackthorn Manor. The mist clung to the cobblestone streets of London, a dense fog that seemed to seep into the very bones of the city. On nights like this, even the bravest hearts could feel a chill that wasn't from the cold. The city itself seemed to hold its breath, as if something ancient and sinister was watching from the shadows. At the heart of this misty expanse, towering above the bustling streets, was Blackthorn Manor. It had stood abandoned for decades, its once grand structure now a hollow shell of decay. But there was something about it, something that whispered in the air, a presence that refused to leave, a secret long buried within its walls. Emily had come to London to escape, to leave behind the haunting memories of her past life in America. The move had been a fresh start, a chance to leave behind her old identity and forge a new path. Her friends warned her about Blackthorn Manor, its dark history woven into the fabric of the city's folklore. But to Emily, it was nothing more than an old, forgotten relic, a shadow of a bygone era. She couldn't have been more wrong. Emily rented a flat in a building nearby, and every day as she walked past Blackthorn Manor, she felt an invisible pull. It was subtle at first, a faint sense that something was watching her from the high windows, a whisper on the wind, but soon it became an undeniable force, drawing her closer. One evening, against all her better judgment, Emily found herself standing before the manor's iron gates. She knew the stories, lights flickering in the windows, voices calling in the night, shadows moving behind glass. But curiosity was stronger than caution. She pushed the gate open, the rusty hinges groaning in protest. A cold gust of wind greeted her as she stepped onto the manor grounds, her heart racing in her chest. She could have sworn she had been here before, in another time, another life. The manor loomed before her, its windows like hollow eyes, watching, waiting. The front door, once grand and imposing, now hung ajar, inviting her in. It was as though the house itself were calling her, beckoning her to uncover its secrets. She hesitated for only a moment before stepping inside. The temperature inside the manor dropped instantly, the air thick with the smell of old wood, mold, and decay. The floorboards creaked under her weight as she moved through the dark hallways, her footsteps echoing in the silence. The walls were adorned with old family portraits, eyes that seemed to lifelike, following her every move. As she ventured deeper into the house, Emily noticed strange symbols carved into the walls, cryptic markings that seemed to pulse with an otherworldly energy. Her fingers traced them, and a chill ran down her spine. Then she heard it. At first, it was faint, just a whisper carried by the wind. But as she stood still, listening, the sound grew clearer. Emily, her breath caught in her throat. She spun around, but no one was there. The house was empty, or so she thought. The whispers grew louder, more frantic. "Help us!" Emily's heart pounded as a cold, icy presence seemed to surround her. She felt something brush against her skin, something unseen, but undeniably real. Her legs locked in place, froncing in fear, as a shadowy figure appeared in the doorway. The figure was that of a woman, or at least, it resembled one. Her face was contorted in a grotesque expression, pale skin stretched tight over her skull, her eyes dark and empty, as though they had seen things no living soul should witness. Her hair hung around her face like a curtain of night, matted and tangled. The figure reached out towards her, and Emily felt the air grow thicker, heavier with dread. She couldn't move, couldn't speak, her body paralyzed by fear. The figure raised a hand, its finger pointing towards the staircase. Emily's gaze followed the gesture, and at the top of the stairs, a faint, eerie glow flickered from an open door. Compelled by something she couldn't explain, Emily began to climb the stairs. With each step, the air seemed to grow colder, the whispers more insistent. "Do not go. You cannot leave." But she couldn't stop. It was as if something was pulling her, dragging her forward despite the warning. She reached the top of the stairs and stepped towards the door. The light within flickered again, and with a sense of unease, she entered. The room was small, its walls lined with mirrors. As Emily stepped inside, her reflection greeted her, but something was wrong. The mirrors distorted her image, twisting it into grotesque versions of herself, each more twisted than the last. But it was the large, ornate mirror in the center of the room that caught her attention. Her reflection stared back at her, but it wasn't her. The woman in the mirror was pale, her eyes wide with terror, her mouth open in a silent scream. Behind her, a dark shape moved, its outline growing larger the longer Emily stared. She turned around, but there was nothing there. The whispers grew louder, more demanding. Suddenly, a cold hand touched her shoulder. Spinning around, Emily saw the woman from the mirror standing in front of her, flesh and blood, no longer a reflection. Her face was twisted in agony, her hands reaching for Emily, her fingers cold as they brushed against her skin. "Help me!" Before Emily could react, the woman lunged at her, and everything went black. The next morning, Emily's lifeless body was found outside Blackthorn Manor, her eyes wide open, her face frowning in an expression of pure terror. Her hands were clenched tightly, as if grasping at something unseen. There was no sign of struggle, no explanation for her death. But the whispers didn't stop. For weeks, strange occurrences plagued the city. People spoke of hearing Emily's voice in the night, calling out for help. Her reflection would appear in the windows of Blackthorn Manor, her eyes filled with fear, her mouth locked in a silent scream. And those brave enough to approach the manor would feel a cold hand on their shoulder and hear the whispers, "Help me." The curse of Blackthorn Manor lived on.